This is Our View, the television voice of the Washington Federation of State Employees, the people who work for you. Across the country, legislators, including some in Washington state, are beginning to question the long-term effects of what has become our huge prison population, per capita, about the largest in the world. Yes, violent people need to be confined, but the cost of keeping less serious offenders for long periods has become an expensive burden, with many results never accounted for when the theme was lock 'em up. Not fully considered was the fact that parents in jail are still responsible for child support, even though they have no income. A team in the Department of Social and Health Services is working with prisoner and parents to help them start a new life and be the parents their children need.
What happens oftentimes is folks will get released. They'll owe $10,000 or $20,000 in child support debt. And the child support machine, when it catches up with them, will oftentimes reach out and take a large amount of their income, making it hard for them to pay things like rents or utility bills, things of that nature. Them being able to make the transition back into society and become a productive member of society is the ultimate goal. We don't want child support to stand in the way of that, although we do want people to meet their responsibilities for child support. So it's a real balance. They know that child support has been a barrier for them at every turn of their lives. We've either had their driver's license suspended, we've taken large portions of their income, we've seized their bank accounts, things of that nature, and they want to know how they can get that stuff to stop. And once we get the opportunity to talk to these folks and they see that we want to help them, it's worked out pretty well. At one of the reentry fairs that I participated in, we got to meet with a panel of incarcerated individuals that were preparing to release. And we were asking these folks what they need. And one of the individuals told us a story, basically. And he had been incarcerated since he was 16, and he was now in his early 30s. And he talked about how the only role models that he's had in his life were the other prisoners there, and how there were no role models to follow. And he said what he needed was to be taught how to be a man. And when he said that, what he described was paying his bills, meeting obligations, being an adult, being responsible. So for him, he described that it meant a lot that all these different organizations were there showing that we cared about his success. So that was big.
I think just going there and putting a face with the Division of Child Support and going in there as a human being and telling them that we're not as scary as people think that we are, that we want to work with them, not against them. We want to help them be a productive member of society and to be with their children. I think any amount of help that we can do at the Division of Child Support to help these incarcerated individuals one way or another be able to get their children back, whether it's with full custody or at least with visitation, and become an active member in their kids' life is, I think, 100% very important to the division.
One of the programs that we do run for Cedar Creek here out of the Olympia field office is we are one of the major contributors to their back-to-school supply drive every year. In the last 2 years, we've filled 3 or 4 tables of backpacks and school supplies that enable us to help those prisoners. And one of the stories that I have been able to get back feedback related to that is one inmate was able to tell us the story of being able to pick out a backpack for his daughter and being able to take that backpack to her and hand that backpack to his daughter, and her knowing that it came from him. And the follow-up to that is I was able to, the staff at Cedar Creek shared with me that the daughter wrote a letter back to the staff, and the mother wrote a letter back to the staff as well, thanking them for that opportunity, because that daughter went to school and was able to say, my dad got this for me. even though he's in prison and not in the home with her. So he got to have that personal relationship and work on that personal relationship with his child, even though he's behind bars.
Our nation's huge prison population is also a subject this month for Robert Reich, former Secretary of Labor, who says the lock 'em up policy is not only racist, but is also costing the country a lot more than the price of incarceration.
Imprisoning large numbers of Americans is wrong. It's also racist. A person of color is more likely to be stopped by the police, questioned, and even arrested. Even if they've done exactly the same thing I've done, he or she is more likely to be convicted and sent to jail. It's also bad for the economy. In the big picture, today the United States has 5% of the world's population, but has 25% of its prisoners. And we spend more than $80 billion each year on prisons. There were fewer than 200,000 Americans behind bars as recently as the mid-1970s, but mandatory minimums and 3 strikes you're out laws ballooned that number to nearly 2.5 million today, despite widespread evidence that locking people up doesn't make us safer. Even though blacks, whites, and Latinos use drugs at similar rates, people with black and brown skin are more likely to be pulled over, searched, arrested, charged with a crime, convicted, and imprisoned. Here's how the economy also pays a huge price. A felony conviction can bar people from getting a student loan, a mortgage, even from voting. It might even disqualify them from getting a job. All of this means a lot of potential human talent is going to waste. We're spending a fortune locking people up who could fuel our economy and build strong communities. So what do? First, we need smarter sentencing laws, end mandatory minimums, and transform the way we treat people who enter the criminal justice system. Instead of just prisons and jails, cost-effective alternatives to incarceration, like job training and mental health and drug treatment programs. Second, stop the militarized policing and end discriminatory policing practices such as stop and frisk and broken windows that target communities of color. Third, stop building new jails, close some existing ones. States are spending more and more on prisons while cutting funding for schools. That's nuts. Finally, we need to ban the box. Stop asking on job applications whether you've ever been convicted of a felony. Already, dozens of states, cities, and counties have passed bills demanding that employers consider what you can do in the future, not what you might have done in the past. Instead of locking people up unjustly and then locking them out of the economy for the rest of their lives, we need to stop wasting human talent and start opening doors of opportunity to everyone.
AFL-CIO President Rich Trumka was the keynote speaker at the yearly gathering of the United Steelworkers Union. His message to those trade unionists was one of solidarity and a reminder that this is our nation and not just the nation of the 1% class.
We live in the richest nation on the face of the earth, at its most rich point in time, and a decent life isn't too much to ask for, because we're the workers of this country. From the foundry to the freeway, we forge steel and smelt aluminum, we mine ore and store slurry, we build turbines and make paper, we bake bread and teach classes, we lift all the loads and answer the call. We do whatever it takes, no matter the cost. We wake this country up every single day and we put her to bed every single night. And it's time that we said to this country that we won't be turned aside, that we won't be sat down or backed up, we won't be shut up, we won't be forced down, we won't be denied. This is our country, and it's time that we took it back for the workers of this country. Because we're not working for any candidate, and we're not building power for any political party, not the Democratic Party and not the Republican Party. We're building power for working people, pure and simple. We're taking the long view, and we'll work for anybody who works with us, and we're not afraid to hold anybody's feet to the fire, no matter what the political party that they believe in. From the paper mill to the refinery, full-time, part-time, anytime, from the car wash to the tire plant, we win together when we stand together. So get off your seats and on your feet, brothers and sisters. When we stand together, we win together, and I promise you we're going to win together. But we have to work for it. We have to stand for it together, each one of us, with solidarity, real solidarity, where your picket line is my picket line and my picket line is yours. And I don't bother asking questions about what's that guy striking for over there. I see a worker striking, I support that worker. Shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, all day, every day, to win together, to raise wages together, to grow together, to bring out the best in each other in America, for the America we can have, must have, will have. Keep fighting, keep winning, keep being a union that really works.
This has been Our View, brought to you by the people who work for you, the proud members of the Washington Federation of State Employees. We remind you, when you accept a paycheck for your hard work, you don't give up your rights. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next month.
My name is Gulnara. I was one of 21 million trapped in modern slavery. I come from a poor family. There was no work in my village, so I took a job abroad. They promised me good money with free food and a room. When I got there, I found there was no job. They told me I had to work as a prostitute to pay back what I owed. I refused, but they locked me in a room. Later that day, 2 men came, raped me and beat me. They forced me to have sex with about 30 men every day. After a year, I managed to escape. I was thrown in jail because the police said I was there illegally. I'm still in shock. I can't believe this happened to me. I'm Robin Wright, and this story is real. Go to 50forfreedom.org to join the campaign to end modern slavery.